Sometimes it feels like the stories around us only show the struggles and the noise. This is 10 Better Minutes, a podcast where recent real-life stories offer a little more balance without ignoring the harder parts. I am Ian Rhodes, your host, and I appreciate you taking a few minutes to be here. Today's stories gently remind us that the world has moments of kindness and care that often go unseen. We will begin with a story about a man named Luis Salazar, who found a lost fanny pack with a large sum of money and took the time to find its owner. Luis Salazar found a fanny pack in a Wawa bathroom stall, tucked near a handrail. Inside were several huge wads of cash, totaling $30,000. Anyone could understand the shock of it. And still, what he did next was steady and deliberate. He spent several days trying to locate the owner because he did not want to wonder what might happen when someone loses that kind of money. Eventually, the rightful owner contacted Riviera Beach police to report the fanny pack missing. Then the police used security camera footage to identify Salazar. That is how the story turned from worry into relief. When Salazar returned the bag at the Riviera Beach police station, the owner reacted the way you hope people do when they get their life back into place. Tears came first, and then a hug. For Salazar, the important part was simple. He kept emphasizing that it was not his money to take. You know that feeling when you realize kindness is not just a nice idea. It is a choice you can make with your own hands. This one felt like that. A small-town moment of trust, where doing the right thing did not cost him much except time. And it gave someone else something priceless, the security of having what was theirs returned. Some people build community with big gestures, but this one starts with something simple you can see from the street. Clean windows. In Kansas City, Davis Ruthler is the co-owner of Window Wolf, a window washing company with 8,700 Instagram followers and a growing audience. He offers free cleanings to local restaurants and businesses, then documents the work with meta glasses. Instead of posting just quick photos, he shares longer form video reviews that can reach tens of thousands of views, often focusing on the people behind the counter and the care that goes into each place. Ruthler's recommendations create a moment of recognition for neighbors who might have passed by before. The article highlights businesses such as Done Deal BBQ and Tasty African Food KC, along with Kolaches and Coffee and Simply Grand Kitchen and Creamery. With his posts, some places saw the kind of momentum you notice immediately. For example, Kolaches and Coffee may have been saved, while Done Deal and Simply Grand have lines around the block after his videos circulated and customers came back, not just once but again and again as he returned for more content. What I find uplifting is how trust in people can show up as an ordinary service and turn into a shared spotlight. A clean pane of glass becomes a signal saying, "We are here, we are worth stopping for, and we would love to serve you." After a fire reshaped her neighborhood in Victoria, Deanne Kelly faced the hardest part of rebuilding first. Not the paperwork, but the question of where home would come from. And what she chose to do next is a steady reminder of what community can make possible. Kelly began rebuilding an Earthship home using everyday materials gathered into a new kind of structure. The walls are planned from earth packed into tires, with bottles and cans built into the mix, all guided by a registered builder. About 35 people have been helping as the work moves forward, showing up with time, tools, and patience, and keeping the momentum alive when rebuilding can feel slow. In her Grampian region community, the plan is to have the Earthship rebuilt in about 3 months. The result is described as eco-friendly and naturally bushfire resilient, and the cost is reported to be about the same as a traditional home. That matters because hope is more practical when it fits real budgets and real timelines. What I love here is how rebuilding becomes more than returning to normal. It becomes a shared project, with neighbors turning materials like tires, bottles, and cans into something that can hold birthdays, quiet mornings, and all the ordinary days that make a life feel like a life. It is one thing to hear about wildlife rescue, and another to watch time, care, and science line up until a young life can return to the sea. Today, we are following that kind of patient comeback, with hope measured in real movement. The Turtle Conservation Center at the Two Oceans Aquarium gave juvenile loggerhead turtle Kai years of specialized medical care and physiotherapy, then built practical buoyancy support around his needs. When he was still fragile, his team used inventive solutions, including fitted ballast weights, a modified pool noodle, and a custom buoyancy device so he could learn to swim and manage his body position with more confidence. They also planned the release like a careful handoff, with staged transport from the I&J Ocean exhibit, using a stretcher and a bakkie, then a buggy, and finally a quad bike to the beach. On 14th of May 2026, alongside turtle aquarist Razan Samuels and support from the Morikuru family DeHoop and Cape Nature Rangers, Kai was released into the DeHoop Marine Protected Area. Before he went, he carried a satellite tag to help the team track his return. And then early results began to speak. In his first week, Kai traveled about 76 kilometers, averaging roughly 11 kilometers per day, with encouraging transmissions coming through as he moved into the open ocean. What lifts me here is how rescue can be both tender and technical at the same time. Care does not have to be perfect to be meaningful, and in Kai, it became a pathway back to home. I've always loved the way old images can carry living guidance, especially when communities decide to listen. In this story, a drought pushed the Tule River Indian Reservation to rethink water, and ancient rock art pointed toward a gentler partner. On the Tule River Indian Reservation, tribal member Kenneth McDarmont noticed an ochre-red pictograph of a beaver, complete with 4 paws and a paddle tail. About a decade ago, a severe drought made water feel scarce and urgent. Instead of treating beavers as problems, the Tule River tribe turned to the meaning behind that artwork and to the practical wisdom it suggested. In 2021, California launched its first beaver restoration program since the 1950s, partnering with the Tule River Tribe and the Maidu Summit Consortium. Then came a first release. On October 18, 2023, 7 beavers were moved into Tasman Koyam, a 2,325-acre valley in Plumas County. By September 2024, their presence had grown to 28 relocated beavers across 5 release sites, and the landscape began to respond in measurable ways. At the Tasman Koyam Meadow, relocated beavers built a 328-foot dam, and an April 2025 report found water coverage increased by more than 22%. What feels most hopeful is that this is not only restoration of wetlands, but reconnection as well. When ancient knowledge meets careful action, nature can do what it has always done, if we give it the chance. As always, I have a practical little tip to help you reset your mind and find more steadiness in your day. If you have ever felt like the world is changing too fast or too slowly, you will like today's idea. Today's tip is about how big systems change slower than headlines suggest. You know the pattern. One story drops, the internet reacts, and it feels like everything has shifted overnight. But systems are made of processes, incentives, budgets, habits, and human decisions that have momentum. Laws take time to draft and implement. Work cultures take time to unwind and rewrite. Even when a change is announced, the daily reality moves in increments. So here is the mental move. When you see a headline that promises instant transformation, do not let it hijack your expectations. Notice what is really happening. Early signals, small policy steps, pilot programs, training sessions, conversations that will matter later. At the same time, do not wait for the perfect proof that nothing is changing. Look for the quiet evidence. A meeting with a new agenda, a revised guideline, a new routine that starts to stick. Change often arrives like sunrise, not like fireworks. The world shifts, slowly, but it does shift. Well, that is it for today's episode of 10 Better Minutes. If you have been feeling worn down by all the noise, I hope this leaves you with a steadier kind of hope, the quieter reminder that people still show up for one another, do decent work, and choose kindness even when it is not loud or headline-worthy. If you want to help keep that momentum going, feel free to leave a comment with a link to a good news story you think more people should see, or even a local positive moment from your own area. I genuinely love reading them and sharing the best ones with others. This is Ian Rhodes with 10 Better Minutes. Take care, and I will see you tomorrow.